If you can hear me, please drop yes in the chat box. Can anyone hear me, please? Hello. All right, guys. We'll be reviewing. Hello. Okay. All right. We'll be reviewing some letters today, and if you're already in the room, okay. Rosemary, can you hear me? If you can hear me, please say yes. Rosemary, can you hear me? I can see you in the chat box. Can you hear me? If you can, please say yes so that we'll start off. Oh, okay. Yeah, but my signal appears to be very strong. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Okay, that's great now. That's great. So we are going to start off now because we have some letters, some students presented. So just as I promised, I'm going to take it at as we were as first come first serve. The first person to drop off a letter on my Telegram on my Facebook page is that Ajuwon Ahmed. So she dropped off like three letters, but we'll be reviewing just one for her so that we can review other ones before the time goes off. Well, if you're joining my channel for this first time, I'm Tunde Thompson, the instructor of the T-Square OET Academy. So um, I've made it to be like a mandatory thing to me that I will try as much as possible to see how I can help students to pass. So once in a while, I will be organizing live streaming to review letters, okay, and also to organize speaking classes that might be on Zoom. So try to subscribe to the YouTube channel or or join my Facebook page or group so that anytime I drop any announcement, you will be the first to see that. Yes, good evening, Tobechiku. Nice to have you here. So we are going to start off immediately with the letters posted on the Facebook page. Now let's start from Ahmed. Ahmed wrote a letter to Dr. Lisa. I don't know. Can you guys see this on the Facebook page? If you can see this letter posted by Ajuwon Ahmed on the Facebook page, say yes. If Otherwise, say no. Good evening, Doctor. Welcome to the live streaming. Okay. Tobechukwu said no. So let me see if I can copy it out on this thing and then project it. Okay, what about now, Tobechukwu? Can you see it now? If you can see the letter projected on the on the screen, please say yes. And Oloma, good evening. Nice to welcome you to the class. If you can see the letter projected on the screen, please type yes so that we'll review it. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. So that means we can all see it. Okay. So this is the letter written by Ahmed Ajunwa. That was the first letter that dropped in. I just have to copy it out. Yeah. No, this is not the one that Ajunwa wrote. Let's see. Yeah. So this is what Ajunwa Ahmed wrote. Okay. Now, this is the address. Yeah. This is the address. The name of the person you are writing and the address. After the address, Ajunwa Ahmed supposed to have left a line before writing the date. The date is clearly written, which is very beautiful. Now, this is the greeting, Dear Dr. Smith, which is well written. To be more respectful, it's better to use the reader's last name, which is Smith. So this person said, Dear Dr. Smith, which is very fine. Okay. Now, this is the real line. This is the real line. In the real line, you are just writing the patient's name and the date of birth, which this person did well, although the punctuations weren't very okay. For example, after date of birth, DOB, this punctuation here is not accurate. You are not supposed to use a semicolon, but a colon here, right? Now, let's go to the introduction. In the introduction, she said, thank you for seeing Mrs. Sharma, a 60-year-old who is a known type 2 diabetes. She is being referred to you because of her concerns about her poor glycemic control. So we'll just read it down. After reading it down, I'll project the case note that this person's used to write this letter. On 29th December 2018, Mrs. Sharma presented with the concerns of her blood sugar glucose level, which has remained persistently high when checked at home. When checked at home, ranges between 16 to 18. On examination, her BMI is normal. Her blood pressure was slightly elevated above normal. She was subsequently asked to carry out some routine laboratory investigations and told to return in few days for review. Ms. Sharma returned a week after. Her glycated hemoglobin was abnormally elevated with deranged fasting lipid profile. Her routine medications was adjusted on this account to metformin 750 nanogram twice daily, atorvastatin 20 milligram daily, and glipizide 5 milligram twice daily. She returns for a follow-up visit on this date, and her previously deranged laboratory investigations were back to normal. She was informed of the progress. She remained worried on why her fasting blood sugar has remained persistently high when checked at home, and her other glucose check in the day remained normal. Ms. Sharma has a strong family history of type 2 diabetes mellitus. She is allergic to penicillin. She does no form of exercise. In view of this, she is being referred to you for further evaluation and management of her blood sugar levels. Please contact me for further queries. Yours sincerely, Doctor. So this is what this person wrote. Let me just take a look at the word count and see. This is what this person wrote, and the word count is 226. The word count is 226. Yeah, for those of you just joining us, we are reviewing the first letter that was posted on the group by Ahmed, Ahmed's Ajunwa. So that's the first letter we are reviewing. Now, we've gone through this letter. Let's take a look at the case note that this person wrote. Yeah, let's take a look at the case note. Just for me to be sure we are still on the same page, if you can hear me clearly, please type yes in the chat box. Once again, if you can hear me clearly, please type yes in the chat box. In the comment section, write yes, please. If you can hear me clearly and see the screen clearly too. Okay, Anne said yes, and Onoma said yes, and Mudo Nye said yes. That's fine. Okay, that's beautiful. Oluwatoyin Adeoti, that's nice. Alozie Esther can hear me. Oluwatosi can hear me. Elvis Edopolo can hear me. Esther Ajidahu can hear me. Patience Abba Aminu Rimaye. Oh, that's very beautiful. We can also, what you are going to do now, I've gone through what Ajun posted on the group. So I'm going to use this case notes now, because what Ajun actually wrote, and I've actually read it, a lot of things are wrong with that letter writing. We'll come back to that. The major thing wrong with that letter writing is the language. The language Ajunwa used in that letter is so very, very informal, which is not appropriate. And a lot of punctuation errors and some grammatical errors. So we are coming back to those. So what I'm going to do, so that we'll benefit a lot before this session, before 8:30, because the way things are going, I might not be able to review all the letters today, but let's use this one as a practical example to drive down the information that I want to pass across. All right, now look at the case note that Ajun actually wrote here. This is the case note, right? Now, in this case note, whenever you have a case note whenever a case note is given to you, on the exam day, you are first of all given 5 minutes to go through this case note. How do you maximize these 5 minutes that you are given? First is to, first of all, come to the writing task. Right? Come to the writing task and read the writing task. The writing task says, using the information in the case note, write a letter of referral to Dr. Smith, an endocrinologist at City Hospital, for further management of Mrs. Sharma's glucose sugar level. Address the letter to Dr. Lisa Smith, endocrinologist, City Hospital, hometown. Now, this is the task that you are given to carry out. Now, when you read this task, what are you trying to find out? The first thing you will try to find out in this writing task is the purpose of the letter. If you've been going through my lectures on YouTube, Instagram, and on Facebook, by now you're supposed to have known how to derive the purpose of a letter in your letter writing. Most of the time, the purpose of the letter is clearly stated in the writing task, but on a few occasions, you might not even see the purpose of the letter in the writing task. You will have to figure it out from the body of the letter. But if you look at this information clearly, the purpose of this letter is clearly stated here. While we are writing this letter to Dr. Smith, is for Dr. Smith to further manage Mrs. Sharma's sugar level. Yeah? This one that I've highlighted, that's the purpose of this letter, for further management of Mrs. Sharma's for further management of Mrs. Sharma's blood sugar level. Okay, I don't even know what I clicked again. Okay. Now, so that's for the purpose of the letter. Now, the next question you are going to ask, after identifying the purpose of the letter, the next thing you are now going to ask yourself will now be, why will Mrs. Sharma needs her blood sugar level to be further managed. Yeah? You are trying to identify the problem in the case note. Okay, the first thing to do is to identify the purpose of the letter, which we have identified here for further management of Ms. Sharma's sugar level. The next thing you are not going to identify will be the problem in this case note, because there is a problem you are trying to solve. There is a problem on ground why you are referring this patient to this endocrinologist. So what is the problem? Now you have to go through the case note to understand the problem, what the problem is. But I think at the beginning of this case note, under the note, they said Mrs. Sharma is a patient in your general practice who is concerned about her glucose level control. Yeah, and if you also go through this case note, okay, this is the patient details, the social background, family, medical history, current medications. If you just scan through this case note, you can see here that they also said here, refer to specialist diabetes unit for further management of sugar levels, still emphasizing the purpose of this letter. Now, if I actually give you the time to go through this case note, which we don't actually have, the problem in this case note is that the patient is concerned that her blood glucose level are not well controlled. Okay, so this patient is concerned that her blood glucose level are not well controlled. So that is why we are writing this letter for this endocrinologist to further manage this patient's blood sugar level. Okay, now having these two things at the back of your mind, that you are writing to an endocrinologist to further manage this patient's blood sugar level because the patient is concerned that her blood sugar level is poorly controlled. These are the two things you bring in your introduction, the purpose of the letter and the problem that you've identified. Now let's go back to what Ajunwa wrote and see if Ajunwa was able to identify the problem and state the purpose of this letter. In Ajunwa's writing, he or she said, "Thank you for seeing Mrs. Sharma, a 60-year-old who is a known type 2 diabetes. She is being referred to you because of her concern about her poor glycemic control." Now, let me ask you guys a question. Did you think that this introduction is well written? Yes or no? Do you think that this introduction by Ajunwa is well written? Was Ajunwa able to state the purpose of this letter clearly? Was Ajunwa also able to identify the problem in this case note? What do you think, guys? Can you drop your opinions in the comment section or chat box? Okay, and Oloma said no. If you said no, you give your reason. If you say yes, you give your reason too. Everybody is saying no. Olalade Aremu said no. Luwatosi said no. Dokita Wa said no. Aminu Rimaye said no. Uche Ugu said no. Somebody is giving the reason. Purpose was not stated. Very good. Oluwatoyin Adioti. Excellent. Oluwatoyin stated that purpose was not stated clearly, but hinted on the problem, though not properly. Excellent. That's really beautiful. This person that wrote this letter will definitely lose marks in the purpose of this letter, because from the beginning it's not clearly stated what we really want this reader to do. And the problem, although stated, I would say that this person actually tried, that she's being concerned, she's being referred to you because of her concerns about her poor glycemic control. That's okay. Anyway, I think this problem was well identified, but not now state. You are referring him for what? What do you want the reader to do? It didn't state it clearly. The purpose is not there. The purpose is for as stated in this case note, that's the way you are still going to state it. Just go back to the writing task. In the writing task for further management of Miss Sharma sugar level. So this person is supposed to have stated in his or her letter clearly that this woman will need further management of her blood sugar levels. That's fine. So let's go back to that case note. Now, having these two things at the back of our mind, so what do we now do? We are now going to select important information that will help this reader to understand the problem in this case note, and at the same time help this reader to manage this person's blood sugar level. So you start to select. I will be highlighting the information we are going to use here. I might not give you time to help me to figure out this information because I want to see if I can finish another letter from a nurse. This is a letter from a doctor. So the name of this patient, in all your letter you must always state the name of the patient, the date of birth and the age, you state it. Now the address of this patient, I'm not going to highlight it because it's not, I don't know why this is just highlighting. Okay, this is the, I'll highlight this. The address of this patient, to me, I don't feel this address is important to include in your letter writing. For you to determine if the address of a patient is important, if the reader, the person you are referring that, like in this case, Dr. Smith, if Dr. Smith will be going to Mrs. Prema Sharma's home to visit Mrs. Sharma to manage Miss Sharma, in that case, you have to include the address. But in this case, Miss Sharma will be going to see Dr. Lisa. So the address of this patient is not really relevant. Now let's go to the social history. In the social background, this patient is married for 40 years, 3 grandchildren, 5 grandchildren. They are all overseas. This information is not really important in management of this patient. This patient is a retired clerical worker. This patient is a retired clerical worker. By the way, how old is this woman? This woman is just 60, which is fine. In that case, this information will be important because she just got retired, a clerical worker. So if this woman is retired and this woman is not active anymore, that might be contributing to why the sugar level is not well controlled. So let's go to the family history. Many relatives with type 2 diabetes. So this is also related to the what we are writing. Nil S significant. We'll just ignore this. Okay, so let's go to this patient's medical history. In the medical history, in 1999, this patient developed type 2 diabetes mellitus. This is very important to state when this patient started having this problem. So it's very important to include this. Nil significant, no operations. These ones anyway are not important, whether you regard it as they are not important negative, so to say, because surgeries to some extent have nothing to do with poor glycemic control. Allergic to penicillin, menopause, 12 years. Any history of allergies when you are writing a doctor in terms of management is always very important to include the allergic history. Never smoke, no alcohol. Well, this can be risk factors and they are important negative. So you can add this information. And no formal exercise. This is also very important because this might be the reason why this patient is having poorly controlled glucose. Now, these are the medications this patient is taking. So these are the medication we'll have to include. Oh, sorry. These are the medications. So I will include the metformin. I will include the glycoside. All these other ones, I may not want to include them. But if you want to let the reader know that it's not taking, this one is really neither here nor there. If you include it, not really absolutely irrelevant. But if you include it, it's fine. But for me, I don't think I want to include this information. Now, so these are like the patient visits or how you've been seeing this patient and all. So what you will just do is to summarize all this. In summarizing all this, you just have to bring out important facts. You don't have to copy everything as written in this case note and dump it in your letter writing. You just summarize important facts in this here, like here that they say that is concerned okay, and worried. This information is important. Attend health, feels not taking her seriously. Recent blood sugar level, this level is also very important. She checked her BP at home, that's okay. Last eye check, this is also very important because complications can develop. This patient had good appetite, has bowel move. These are all important. So it's just for you to summarize it, not just to quote them as they are them. Full physical examination NAT, all these ones you also summarize it, and then you summarize, you just pick important information where you have current test and the blood test regarding this blood sugar level and all, like these figures. It's important you also quote them, not just saying that they are high. It's important so that the reader will know how high this the blood sugar is, because you are writing an endocrinologist. Some of these results you also need to quote the figure, and the dosages the patient is also taking. It's also good to quote the figure so that the endocrinologist will know if he or she need to modify this medication to increase the dose, reduce the dose, alter the dose. These are very important. There are some things you shouldn't be adding in your letter, like this place they say review in 2 weeks. This information is irrelevant. Review in 2 weeks. This information is irrelevant. It shouldn't be seen in your letter writing. So what you just do, you pick up this information. After picking up this information, you now have to organize your letter in a way that someone will understand. Okay, so now let's go back to what Ajun wrote again. Let's go back to his letter writing. Now, Ajun started by saying that on this, okay, before we come to this page, there are other errors made here. For example, she said, thank you for seeing Mrs. Sharma, a 60-year-old. Okay, after Mrs. Sharma, there's supposed to be a comma, a 60-year-old. Now, he added hyphens here, making this word an adjective. He was supposed to have used this to qualify a noun. So you can say, thank you for seeing Ms. Sharma, comma, a 60-year-old retired clerical officer, comma, a clerical worker, comma, who is a known type 2 diabetic, full stop. She is being referred is double R and not one R, to you because of her concerns about her poor glycemic control. If I'm to modify this sentence, because it kind of sounds a little bit informal to me, if I want to modify it, I can say something like this, that she has been experiencing poor glycemic control, or she has been experiencing difficulty controlling her blood sugar level. I'm referring her to you for further management. In that case, I can now bring in the purpose of this letter, as it was not well stated here. Now, in this paragraph, he said on 29 December this, Ms. Sharma presented with concerns of her blood sugar level, which has remained persistently high when checked at home, ranges between this and this. Now, this is another error. Here, the person said Mrs. Sharma presented. You don't use a comma to comma off your noun from your verb. The verb here is presented, so you cannot add a comma here after the subject. Okay, that's very wrong. So you can watch my video on how to use punctuations in OET letter writing. That will also guide you more. Previously, I went checked at home, ranges between. Now we now say between. He now puts this in brackets now, 16 to 18. If you want to say between, it should be between 16 and 18, and it shouldn't be in brackets. If you want to say ranges from 16 to 18, that would be correct. But if you say ranges between 16 and 18, that's what you should write. On examination, her BMI is normal. Her blood pressure was slightly elevated, not clearly, not spelled well, above normal. She was subsequently asked to carry out some routine laboratory investigation and told to return in a few weeks days for review. Now, this information is not very important, and this sentence here is very informal that you use. Like this word ask you use here, it appears very informal. Why not say she was subsequently advised to carry out, or she was subsequently recommended to carry out some routine laboratory investigation, and was advised, instead of saying told again, okay, and was advised to return in a few days for review. Yeah. So this is what you in writing, be mindful of your language so that you will not be using informal, if your language will not be informal. Okay. So here in the next paragraph again, she now came here and now say Miss. Remember, the title of this woman is Mrs. Here, this person changed it to Miss. And again, she now say Miss Shama, comma, returned a week after. This is also very wrong. Don't use a comma to separate your subject from the verb. This is your verb, returned. So Miss Sham is supposed to be Mrs. Shama returned a week after. Her glycated hemoglobin was abnormally elevated with deranged fasting lipid profile. Her routine medications was adjusted. You say her routine medications and you say was. So if you are saying medications, that means you are referring to more than one medication. So you say were adjusted on this amount, on this account to metformin 750, or it's supposed to write milligram anyway. I think this is a typographical error. To metformin 750 milligram. It would have been nicer for you to have stated, for it, if you had stated the from initial dose this patient was taking from 500 to 750 twice daily, right? And metformin is a generic name, so there is no need using capital letter here. It should be small letter. Metformin 700 milligram. In this case, you say from 500 to 750 milligram. Atorvastatin again is a generic name, so you use small letter A and not capital. 20 milligram daily, and gliclazide 5 milligram twice daily. Again, this is not how you write prescriptions. When you're writing prescription, this is not how you write prescription. If you go to the OET website, you will see clearly how prescriptions are written so that it will not be confusing to the reader. You can also watch my YouTube tutorial on that to also learn how you write prescription. After this metformin, there are supposed to be a comma, 750 milligram twice daily, then semicolon, atorvastatin, comma, 20 milligram daily, and gliclazide, comma, 5 milligram twice daily. That's the correct way to write this prescription. Okay. Then after that, he now says she returned for a follow-up visit on 16 February and her previously deranged laboratory investigation were back to normal. She was informed of the progress. She was informed about the progress, I think. She remained worried on why her fasting blood sugar has remained persistently high when checked at home, and her other blood glucose check in the day remain normal. So this sentence is kind of a little bit confusing. The way you pass this message across is not very clear, and the tone here too is very, very informal too. The way the tone of this writing here is. Now coming to the next paragraph, Ms. Shama, here again you are cutting off your noun again. Please change it. If you are in the class, just take note. Don't use a comma to separate the noun from the verb. Has a strong family history of type 2 diabetes. She is allergic to penicillin. She does no form of exercise. This sentence to I would have preferred, you can just, instead of writing it the way it's in the case note, you can just say she's allergic to penicillin and does not involve herself in any exercise, okay, and is not actively involved in any exercise. So don't just copy everything the way it is and paste it in the writing. In view of this, she is being referred to you, there should be a space here, she's being referred to you for further evaluation and management of her blood sugar levels. Here you were now able to state the purpose of the letter, which is fine. Please contact me for further queries. If you're saying contact you for further queries, it will appear as if you want this reader to ask you questions. Why not say please contact me if you need further information, or please contact me if you need further clarifications, okay, instead of just saying please contact me for further queries. Yours sincerely, doctor. This is well written. This is fine. So we've read this letter. From your own assessment, we've gone through this letter. From your own assessment, will you give this letter a pass? If it's a pass, say yes. If it is not a pass, say no. I'm still waiting for your responses. What do you think about this letter? Before I will now, because I have to write this letter. Okay, Ijoma Ochi said yes, she will give this person a pass. Before you give somebody a pass, number one, the purpose of that letter must be very clear. Number two, the message the person has passed across to the reader should be clear without any confusion. There were some confusions in this letter and some information not very clear in this letter too. Okay, but to some extent, he was able to pass across this information to the reader. Okay, Aminu Remaye said yes, he will give this person a pass. Well, let me not say that I'm a mean marker. If I really want to score this, I will score this letter between 330 and 350. But this person really tried, yeah, but the language used is most of the some of the sentences were informal, they were not formal. Okay, and from the introduction, it was the purpose of the letter was not really very clear, and the punctuations too very poor, which will also affect the genre and style of this letter writing. When everybody is giving this letter yes, pass. Okay, only one person has given this letter no, others are saying yes. If you guys are giving this letter yes, I will follow you guys. I'll give this letter yes, but to be honest, I'll give this letter like 330 or 340 anyway, but that's fine, it's a fair try. So let's see what I've written on this letter. Let's go through it together. Okay, this is what I've written. This is the address of the patient, the date, the greeting, and the heading. So after the address, you leave a line. After the date, you leave a line. After the greeting again, you leave a line. After the heading again, you also have to leave. You should also leave a line before you start your introduction. Now, I started from the introduction. Ms. Sharma is worried about her high blood glucose level, which has been refractory to treatment. I'm referring her to you for further management. So what I did here, I first of all stated the problem. The problem here is that this woman is worried that her high blood glucose, worried about her high blood glucose level, which to me I think is refractory to treatment, because they've given this, they prescribe both metformin and gliclazide, and the medications are not helpful. That's why I said refractory to treatment. Then I now stated the purpose. I'm referring her to you for further management. That's the introduction. State the purpose, state the problem. Now, the next thing I did was first of all to go to the background information, because this is not an urgent letter. So I'll here, and the background information is directly linking to the poorly controlled diabetes we are talking about. If this patient is not diabetic in the first place, does not have diabetes, we shouldn't be talking about poorly controlled diabetes. So I have to start from the background information. Here I said she has had diabetes mellitus for 20 years and this condition runs in her family. So this is my background paragraph. After my background paragraph, I now went ahead to talk about the treatment so far, how this whole issue has been in the past and what treatments have given in the past. For the past 2 months, her sugar recordings have ranged between 6 and 18. In addition, her blood pressure initially was moderately high and cholesterol level at 6.5. The dose of her medication was, as a result, increased from 500 milligram BD to 750 milligram twice daily, and atorvastatin 20 milligram and glipizide 10 milligram were added to her medication, both to be taken every morning. Right? So this is like the summary of the treatment so far. Now I'm going to let the reader know how the current situation of this patient is now. Yeah, so Ms. Sharma's appetite is good and has no signs and symptoms of peripheral neuropathies or eye complications. This information is very important, which the person that wrote this letter didn't include. For somebody that's had poorly controlled diabetes, we should be expecting complication, and in that case, no, they stated it clearly that these complications are not there. So these are important negative. We'll have to state it. Is good and has no signs and symptoms of peripheral neuropathy or eye complications. Although the last eye check was in October 2010. 17. Her weight has been steady with a BMI of 24. And also continue with the current situation. The blood pressures and lipid profile have improved, but her fasting blood glucose and glycated hemoglobin are still poorly controlled at above 16 and 10% respectively. After that, I now brought in another background information I think is important, but because it's not that very important, I didn't bring it up in the letter writing. I have to bring it down here. Please note that she is married with children, has no formal exercise routine, and is allergic to penicillin. I would appreciate your expert review and treatment. Please contact me if you need more information. Yours sincerely, Doctor. So this is how I wrote this letter. I'm going to post this letter on my Facebook page in case you want to go over it again. Although this lecture is also being live streamed, so you also see it on my YouTube channel too. Okay, that's fine. So if you have any question regarding this letter, okay, somebody is asking, how many word count and paragraph should the whole writing be? Well, in the letter writing, in your case note, they usually state it clearly that your word count should be between 180 to 200. Right? But before I answer that question, let me see what let me even check what my word count. Let me check my word count. Okay, my word count stopped here. Okay, my word count is 191 is my word count. Okay, that's fine. So let me answer your question now. Adioti, there is no limitation to the number of paragraphs that you can write. Yeah, you can have any number of paragraphs, no limitations to that. But the way the case note is structured, this case note is standardized in the sense that your writing should be between 180 and 200, meaning if you are writing anything above 200, you are already including irrelevant information in your letter writing. If you are writing anything less than 200, less than 180, 170 something still fair, still okay. But let's say your letter is far less than 170. Let's say your letter is like 150, 140. It means you've excluded a lot of relevant information in your letter writing. So try as much as possible before you start writing to select important information in your letter writing before you start writing. Okay? Try as much as possible to select only relevant information in your letter writing before you start writing, because if you don't select relevant information before you start writing, it will make your letter to be first of all, you'll be confused. You might be tempted to start adding information that are not relevant. If you have any other question, please state your question here before we go to the next letter review, and that will be a letter from a nurse. So we've been able to review this. Well, this is like the first time I'm having this type of class, of which I'm going to have more in the nearest future. This is now how I want my academy to run. It will be open to everybody on YouTube channel, on my Facebook channel. Sometimes the class will be on Facebook and some other time on YouTube channel. And I'll also start to organize speaking classes, to practice classes, to also help. Once in a while, I can bring in reading and listening, but my focus majorly will be on writing and speaking. All right, Aloze, somebody, okay, before we go to Aloze, Adota, I hope you got my explanation. Then Adegboye said, is it advisable to bring the last two paragraphs together? Okay, well, in your paragraph, you know there is what we call clarity in your letter writing. So it's better you make your each paragraph to just have just one idea instead of bringing in different ideas. Let's say, for instance, you want to write about treatment so far, current situation, social history, background. You are clumping everything together. It doesn't give your letter a better clarity. So try as much as possible to make each paragraph to have a particular idea. Let's say you want to talk about social history, you want to talk about the patient treatment so far, you want to talk about the current situation. Yeah, let it be one idea. But in some instances, you might just have just only one information. Let's say all you can get in the social history is that this patient is allergic to penicillin. That information alone cannot stand as a paragraph. So in this case, you might want to combine it with another idea. Okay, but as much as possible, try to make each paragraph to have one idea. In that case, it brings out the clarity of your letter writing. Remember, you have 6 domains they are marking you on, and clarity is part of it. All right, that's fine. Then Alozie Esther says 500 milligram BD and twice daily. Is it not the same? Yeah, BD is twice daily. Both are the same. So I don't know what your question is. And if you're writing that BD should be in capital B and capital D, because it's an acronym and shouldn't be written that way. And you shouldn't put it in brackets anyway. Then Uche Agu say, please, can you join family and past medical history, then split others to another paragraph? For example, I see you bringing in exercise in the last paragraph. Okay, now if you look at the paragraph where I brought in exercise, where I say please note that she is married with children, has no formal exercise routine, and is allergic to penicillin, you can see there I brought in family history, social a kind of social history, not really because she's married, like a social history. No formal exercise is like social history, but allergic to penicillin is like allergy history. Now I brought this information together. Then up, I talk about the family history, where they talk about that it runs in the family and they are sad. I talk about the medical history. If I go up here, yeah, if I go up here, in the second paragraph, I talk about that she has had diabetes for 20 years. This is like the medical background. And this condition runs in family. This is like family history. So this is medical history and family history. Because they are related, I'm bringing them in one paragraph. And because they are directly linking to the problem we are discussing, this paragraph is coming as paragraph number 2. Otherwise, if this paragraph was not directly linking to this problem, I would have brought this paragraph down and merge it with this paragraph where I said, please note that she's married with children, has no formal exercise, or I can write it first before I now write this. So paragraphing entirely depends on you, but what I will advise, try as much as possible to make your letter clear, paragraph clearly, so that the idea you are bringing out will stand out clearly. Okay, somebody said, no, what I mean is the conclusion, and please contact me. Okay, that's fine. I would appreciate your expert review and treatment. That's fine. You can actually merge it together because I really don't have much. It's just only one sentence, and this sentence is not very long. If I say let me split it again, bring it, it will look somehow. So that's why I added it to. Please contact me if you need more information. That's very fine, really. That's really very beautiful. Yeah, instead of splitting it. But if, let's say, I had a lot of things to recommend in the recommendation paragraph, let's say I have other things in that case notes, like I would appreciate your expert review and treatment. He will need to attend the appointment in 2 weeks time, and he should advise him or her to take his drugs or her drugs as prescribed. Let's assume I have all this in my recommendation. I wouldn't want to bring in this, please contact me if you need more information in this same paragraph again. Rather, I will create another paragraph for it. I don't know if that's clear, Adegboye. Olukayode Adegboye, if that's clear. Okay, that's fine. All right, so let's assume that this letter it's clear to us. So okay, thank you very much. Okay, that's fine. Uche Ugu say again, if we are to put the address of the patient, where is the best place to state under regards or in the body of the letter? That's a very beautiful question. If you are bringing in the address of the patient, yeah, if you put it in the introduction, it's actually very fine. If you bring it in here, that Miss Shama, a 32-year-old who lives at so and so, that's very fine. You use the address, like trying to use it to introduce the patient is fine. You can also bring the address again in the social background. Like this place, I say that please know that she is married with children. I can now bring in the address at, and lives at so so and so. Okay, that's if the address is important in that letter writing. I don't know if that's clear. Uche. Oluwatosin is asking, why are we adding the fact that she is married and has children? Yeah, this is a very important information. Yeah, this information is neither here nor there. If you don't add it in that writing, it's actually, if you don't add it in this writing, it's actually very fine. But you can also argue it that in terms of management, this is a 60-year-old woman. Yeah, in terms of management, the family, children are the support these patients may have. That's why you are adding it, which is fine. So it's not absolutely relevant information. In selecting your information, there are information that are absolutely relevant, absolutely irrelevant, and neither here nor there. In this case, this information is neither here nor there. So if you add it in your writing, it's fine. If you decide to ignore it, it's fine. Okay. Ijoma Ochi said, does it mean that please contact me is not included in the word count? Yes, please contact me is not included in the word count because according to OET officials, it's a learned sentence. Everybody writes that, so it's not included in the word count. Okeke Tobechukwu say, did they also rate the address during marking? All your marks boil down from introduction to your recommendation. Yeah, that's where the marks is. But remember, they actually ask you to write that case note in a letter format. Okay, so you may have just a little mark there, but whether you wrote the address like the Queen of England or like a professional, so to say, I don't think it has any special big mark it has to add, because those 6 criteria that they are using, they all boil down from the introduction, where you talk about the purpose, the clarity, the organization, the layout. Well, the address now will now come to the layout. The layout your letter is taking, is it taking the layout of a letter or not? So I think maybe that's where they might. But to be honest, your scores, where the bulk of your score will lie, will be from the introduction to the recommendation. Okay, Doris is asking, what's the exact date to write on the exam day? Should I just write any date from the case note? Well, don't get confused. Because you are practicing, the date you'll be seeing on the case notes are already past dates. Those case notes, they'll be written in the past. But on the exam day, the date you are going to see on the exam day will be the date. Your day of your exam will be the exact day that will be on the case note. Let's assume that your exam is on the 21st of September. On this case note, instead of this February 10 that this case note was written, you will see 20th of that September. So it's the day you are writing your exam. That's the exact day you will see on the case note. So you won't get confused. In a nutshell, it's the day of exam you are going to write as your date. Okay. Okay, someone said, is it okay or not to add units? Well, if units were given to you in the case note, you can add. If in the case note there are no units, there is really no need adding, so that you not introduce error, because like there are some values that have different units. You might want to go and add units and it was not given to you in the case note. You will introduce error in your writing. So if you look at the case note and they added units in the case note, why not you add the unit? If they didn't give you any unit in the case note, don't stress yourself trying to bring in the unit in the case note. All right, this much we can take. So let's review the letter from who posted. A nurse post. I think there are 2 nurses that posted, but I'm just selecting only one because of time, because I think we'll have barely 30 minutes more to round up. Yes, definitely. I will save this. I will save it. It's live, so it will be on my channel. You can also go over this class again. All right. So let's see what okay. Okay, this for James Oluwatosin will not be able to review your own because another nurse posted Jose Oluwatosin. But I think there was a nurse that posted. Let me see. I have to like copy it out because it wasn't very clear on the side so that everybody can see it clearly. Yeah, this is what nurse Esimnachi Ochi wrote. Yeah, this letter was this letter is for a physiotherapist. So it was you are advised to write a physiotherapist. So let me bring out the case notes so that we will see the case note that she wrote. Yeah. Although I'm streaming this live, I don't know if you guys can see this case note clearly. If you cannot see it clearly, I apologize for that. All right, if you can see this case note clearly, this is what Nurse Esimnachi posted on my Facebook page. Yeah. Subsequently, after this class, our next class, I'm going to announce the date on my Facebook page and on my Telegram too and on my YouTube channel. And I'm going to release the case note one so that we'll have a uniform case note. Release a case note on my Facebook page, both for doctors and also for nurses. Then we'll write it ahead of time. I'll only review maybe 1, 2, or 3, the first 2, 3, 4 that posted first, and then I'm still going to write the letter, the correction of the letter after reviewing, and then still post. This is what we'll be doing so that by the time you are going for this exam, you'll be well equipped to write and be very confident in writing. All right, that's fine. So if you can see this case note clearly, please drop yes in the chat box. I'm waiting for your responses. If you can see this clearly, please drop yes in the chat box. Okay, that's fine. Everybody is saying yes. That's really beautiful. I was thinking you guys will not see it, but this is lovely. Okay. All right. So this is the case note. Yeah. Yeah. This is the case note. Let me zoom it again. Oh shit, what's happening? Okay. In the writing task, using the information given in the case note, write a letter to the Heyman Physiotherapy Center, 23 West End, Perth, on behalf of Jennifer, requesting a home visit to help her husband in regaining mobility following his recent knee injury. That's very fine. So one beautiful thing about this writing task here that this nurse Esimnachi posted is that in this writing task, they stated the purpose of this letter clearly. Okay, that you are requesting a home visit to help this woman's husband in regaining mobility. Then they now stated this problem following his recent knee injury. So the problem here is that this patient had a recent knee injury. Now, on behalf of the wife, which you are still going to state in your introduction, you are going to state it clearly that you are writing this letter on behalf of this patient's wife, Jennifer, right? So on behalf of this patient's wife, Jennifer, you are requesting a home visit from this physiotherapist to visit and help this man in regaining his mobility after he had a recent. So this writing task is very beautiful in the sense that in the writing task they stated the problem for you, they also stated the purpose of the letter for you clearly. So what you just do is just to copy and paste in your introduction. Don't try to paraphrase much in your introduction. just copy and paste so that the purpose of the letter will be very clear, because sometimes you may want to paraphrase and you change the purpose of that letter, change what they will ask you to go and do. Maybe here now they're saying help in regaining mobility. You are trying to paraphrase regaining mobility and you go and write another thing. So it's better to just copy it and paste like that in the introduction. The people, how the purpose of the letter is given to you. Yeah. So there. So we just quickly run down this because we don't have time on our side again. Maybe on my next class I may make it 2 hours to give ample of time. But today today is just the first will I say test running this to see how it works. Yeah, I'm even experiencing difficulty trying to control this app. All right. Uh, oh, this is not the case load. So this is the case note where. So in this case note, they say you are Joanna Andrew, a senior nurse working with We Care Home Nursing Agency. Before I forget, let me state this clearly. Here, this case note gave you a name. You are Joanna Andrew. Meaning, at the end of that case note, where you will say yours sincerely, you are not going to be saying, you are just going to be, just write senior nurse. No, you are still going to say, yours sincerely, the next line, Joanna Andrew, maybe in bracket, you can write senior nurse, or under Joanna Andrew, you can now write senior nurse. So in this case, a name was given to you, so you are going to include it in your letter writing. So you are Joanna Andrews, a senior nurse working with We Care Home Nursing Agency. Stephen Kerry is the patient. Read the case notes below and complete the writing task which follows. Now they gave you the details. Yeah, they gave you the details. Now here, let me ask this question. Do you think we are going to look at these patient details, the added address? Do you think in this letter we should add this patient address in this letter? Yes or no? Are we adding the patient address in this letter? Let me see those of you that have been going through my tutorials on YouTube. Are we adding this patient address? Are we adding the patient address in this letter? Yes or no? I'm waiting for your responses. Very good. The first response entering Olalade or sorry if I didn't pronounce your name very well, said yes. Ijoma said yes. Oluwatosin said yes. The answer is yes, yes, yes. Because we are saying the physiotherapist to visit. So if you're asking a physiotherapy to visit and you're not giving the physiotherapy address, how will the physiotherapist know where to go? Okay, so when the reader is to visit the patient, you have to include the address of this patient. Now, the next question will now, oh, somebody said my screen is not clear. I actually think is the case note really, because if the case note was uploaded in PDF format, it would have been clearer, which is what I would advise. If you have PDF format, it's better than in picture format. Okay, here we are requesting that the physiotherapist visit this patient. Yeah, so we have to include the patient address. So that's a good response. The response you gave is correct. So the social background: lives with wife Jennifer Kerry, age 46, works as an accountant in a company in Perth. Yeah. This social background, what do you think about it? Do you think we should include this social background? We should let this physiotherapy know about this social background? Yes or no? Should we include um, this patient's social history? Well, the answers are not coming as yes. Uche Ugu said yes. I was waiting for that. Yes, yes, yes. The answer is yes. We are requesting that somebody goes, yes, the nature of the job is relevant. That's correct. We have to include this because you're asking this a patient that can has injury, can is living with the wife. So the physiotherapist should know if this person has support because you are trying to make this person to walk again. When the physiotherapist is not there, is there any person that can help? Now, if somebody is helping, is this person jobless or does this person work? Yes, we have to let this person is also an accountant, it works. So the physiotherapist actually needs this information. We have to include it in the letter writing. Your responses are correct. So let's go to the medical history. In the medical history, faced cerebrovascular accident some 2 years ago, alert, mentally active, speech slightly slurred, complains of ill health, walks with limp, impaired balance. This is a medical history. What do you think about this medical history? Is it important? The answer is yes. It's very important, this medical history. It's very important because this is someone that will say cannot mobilize. So we have to let this physiotherapist know about this patient's medical history, which is very important here. This might not be the reason why this patient is not mobilizing now, but this patient has background cerebrovascular accident 2 years ago. We let the reader know that he had this issue, but the patient is alert, mentally active, although the speech is slurred. He walks with a limp and he has impaired balance. So this is a background, a very important information this physiotherapist need to know. If this information is not seen in your letter writing, you will definitely lose marks. Now, this is like the management so far. Now, when it now comes to the management so far, this is where you summarize. You don't need to copy everything the way they are. You now have to summarize it. For example, on 12th July 2011, felt extreme headache in the morning, fell down the stair, badly injured right knee, GP requested we care home nursing agency for support with dressing and assisting in taking shower daily. GP advised painkiller as needed to manage pain. Now, you're not going to copy everything here and write it because it will be irrelevant and it will be boring to the reader. So you have to summarize. Okay, so what is very important here to summarize, you can just summarize that this patient had a fall following extreme headache on so date and injured his right knee, and as a result, you are now the agency now supporting this patient as requested by the physiotherapist in showering and this, and is also on painkiller. So you don't necessarily need to just write everything that the way it is. Like some persons will go and write GP requested we care home nursing agency for support. You don't need to write it that way. Just state it that this patient fell following a headache and now having a badly injured right knee, which is being managed with dressing and is getting some assistance daily for showering and is on painkillers. So you can just summarize it that way, bring out the important points and use it to construct your own sentence. It shouldn't be the way I said it. You construct it in a clear sentence that anybody can understand. Even a market woman should be able to read your writing and understand. Don't bog your writing so much with medical jargons. Try as much as possible to use more of English and more of formal language and not informal language like we read in the first letter. Okay. First visit from nursing agency, Stephen was bedbound and did not want to shower, complained of pain in right knee for paracetamol dispense, one compress applied. All these details now, I don't think they are relevant, telling the how will I put it, the physiotherapist about all these details. So you can just make a summary, how long this patient has been. Do you understand? If there were any difficulty you encountered, which I don't think is relevant now, just summarize what you've done for this patient so far and then state clearly how this patient is feeling now. Yeah. So then again they then said the right leg redressed, no infection noted. Stephen was able to walk little distances with help from his wife. Complained of usual pain while walking. Apart from this, nothing, and is doing well. Then on the 19th of July, which is now today, knee healing well, patient beginning to walk, using walk. Now this is like the parent current situation. You really have to state this clearly to the reader how this patient is here, that the knee is now healing well, is beginning to walk with walking sticks for support. Wife Jennifer requested more home visit in order to accelerate progress in his mobility and so that he can get out of the house. Although in OET letter writing, most times they don't give you these long sentences like this. They always put it in note form anyway. But if you have it like this, that's also fine. But try as much as possible not just to copy and paste. Try to get the gist and summarize it. Yeah. So let's see what Esemnachi wrote. The address is well written. That's a good one. The date also is well written. But I would really advise here, if you are writing the date, write 20th August 2022. This August, you write it in Word. Not this way you wrote it is also fine. But if you look at the OET proformas, the one that they select sometimes, you can see they usually write the month in words. So it's better you write this month in Word, August, right? The address is fine. The heading also fine. Yeah, the heading is fine. You can write your heading this way. You write the name, write the date of birth under, or you can write the date of birth and the name on one line. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's see your introduction. I'm writing to request a home visit for Mr. Kerry, who has impaired mobility following a recent knee injury. He is said to be transferred into your care and requires assessment and support to regain mobility. Yeah. So what do you think about this introduction, guys? As I'm reading this introduction by this nurse, I'm really very impressed. The English is very clear. The people's, okay, let me not say a word. What do you think about this? Is this, what will you give this introduction? Yes or no? Is the purpose clearly stated? Is the problem clearly stated? Waiting for your responses, guys. Yeah, Oluwaka always say great introduction. This introduction is very nice because it's very clear to the reader from the beginning. Adegboye say yes, Oluwatosi say yes. In fact, this introduction is very clearly well written. Only one mistake I can discover in this introduction. After Mr. Kerry, there should be a comma before you now say who has impaired mobility following a recent knee injury. Apart from that comma, this nurse, Esemnachi, missed out. I think this is a very beautiful introduction. Yeah? That's very nice. Okay, let's continue. Let's see her second paragraph. On this date, Mr. Kerry had severe headache in the morning and fell down the stairs. As a result, he sustained a severe injury on his right knee and was bedbound. On his GP request, our care home has been dressing his wound and assisting him with his shower. He has been commenced on painkillers for his pain. That's also very fine. But this painkiller should be small p, not capital P. Painkiller is not the name of a person. So use small p here instead of capital P. Yeah, this is also very nice. Nice, clear. The nice thing about this person's writing is the clarity. The next paragraph, it is worth noting that he suffered from cerebrovascular accident 2 years ago, although he remained alert and mentally active after the incident. His speech was, however, impaired. Additionally, due to impaired balance, he walks with support. Now, This is supposed to be the background paragraph, because if you come to the next paragraph now and say, having managed him for a week now, his wound is healing well, no signs of infection. He is now able to move around with the support of a stick. His wife has made a request for more visits to him in his home so as to quicken his ambulation. This is really very nice. Now, there is a great problem, a very big problem, that error that this person made in organizing this letter. Let me see who can spot this error out in this letter, because it kind of affected the flow a little bit, but that will not make this person to score less than 350 in this write-up, because this write-up should score at least 350. Yeah, but can anyone discover the error that this person made in organizing this letter? Yeah. Oh, this is not the letter. Oh. Let me. Yeah, this is the letter here. Let me see if you can. Did you notice any mistake in terms of the structure of this letter? The structure is not totally bad. Yeah, this letter will pass definitely, but a better structure would have been nicer for a better clarity and flow of information in this writing. If you notice the error, state it. Let's see if any of you notice the error in this letter writing. I'm waiting for your responses, please. All right, Oluwatosi said, the medical history and treatment so far was mixed up. Okay. Olalade said, I think there was repetition about his mobility aid. Well, not really bad the way she wrote it, because she kind of paraphrased it, which makes it fine. The point where she used, however, yeah, that sentence there is not really correct. That place he used, his speech was, however, impaired. So I think he would have just removed that comma there. His speech was, however, impaired. Yeah. Abigail saying no. All right, nobody is pointing out. Oluwatosin wanted to like get this, but if you see here, let's go back to that letter again, because this letter is really very fine. I'm not trying to like play it down. This nurse did a very fantastic job in this letter, but if I were her, I will bring this background information as my second paragraph. Yeah, that I will start from letting the reader know that he suffered from cerebrovascular accident 2 years ago, although he remain alert and medical. I will say this first because this is like the background information, which is to some extent directly or indirectly linking to this issue, so to say. Yeah, it's important background information to come up. Now, after that, before I will now write this paragraph, will now be my paragraph number 3. That's after the introduction. I will write this. The third paragraph will come as my second paragraph. Then this my paragraph number 2, which is the treatment so far, will come next to let the reader know what has happened and what has been done. Before finally, I will now let the reader know how the patient is doing now. Okay? How the patient is doing now. And then, although how the patient is doing now, you now added it again with the recommendation. His wife has made a request for visit to him to make to quicken his ambulation. So this is like the recommendation. She kind of paraphrased it again, which is a very nice paraphrase she actually did here. To be honest, this is a very nice letter writing. This is a very nice one. So I didn't bother trying to rewrite this letter again. This is very nice. So before we call it a night, because this is like our this is all that we can take today. Before we call it a night, if you have any question, please drop your question in the chat box, because we are ending this session by in the next 8 minutes. Yeah, I mean, read my essay. Perfect. It's a very nice one. This letter won't score anything less than 350, to be honest. The letter is very clear. And the information she brought out very depict the relevant information and put these details and facts in a nice way. So you can ask any question you want to ask regarding writing. We have 7 more minutes to end this class. All right, thank you very much, Olola. They appreciate that. I appreciate that. The goal is to help you guys to pass this exam once, because there's a lot of money at stake, especially if you're a doctor in Nigeria or a nurse in Nigeria collecting small salaries. That as a nurse you may gather like 3 of your salaries before you can write this exam, which is what you will not dream to go and write 2 times. So Oluwatosin said, what if the reader is the patient's physician? Will I need to add the address since he knows the patient? That's a very beautiful question. If the reader is the patient's physician, this is clearly stated. In this case, you don't need to add the patient address in that letter writing again. And there is one thing that this person that wrote this letter missed. She didn't put that that he was actually writing that letter on behalf of the wife. She should have also included that in the letter writing. But aside that, she really did a very fantastic job in this letter writing. Yes, Uche Ago, you should write it the way you just wrote it. 1st January 2000 and whatever year. That's the way you should preferably to write it. January as in January. You spell it that way. Yeah? Instead of writing 1/1. Is that alright, Uche? If you also write 1/1, it's also fine. It's also fine, but from their own write-up, most time they usually write 1st January. They will spell it. Yeah. All right. This is where we'll come to the end of this. This is where we come to the end of this class, and somebody you put comma after January. If you put, it's fine. If you don't put, it's fine. You don't even need to punctuate anything. Just write 1st, or just write 1 instead of even writing that ST. It's either you say 1st or you just write 1, then January 2022. That's fine. Somebody's asking what of 01/01/22 is also fine, but preferably write it as 1 January, spell it 2022. That's better. For subsequent dates, usually it's better to make your dates to be uniform, but to be honest, they really don't care about this. So in subsequent dates, you can actually write it the way you want. But most informal writing, you usually make your letter to be uniform, to your date to be uniform anyway. How many types of letter do we have? Someone is having how many types of letter? Well, in OET letter writing, will I say we have any type of letter? Because sometimes you may not even know whether you are writing a referral letter, a transfer letter, or a discharge letter. But the main thing is for you to understand how you structure your letter, pending on whether the letter has a discharge plan or whether the letter does not have a discharge plan. So I think that's more important thing really than looking for how many types of letter that we have in OET letter writing. Yeah. All right, guys, I really appreciate every one of you that attended the class. We'll be having this class more frequently, and although I'm very busy here, but I will try to create time because the goal is to try as much as possible to help a lot of people to pass, because ever since I came to UK, I will just be seeing people, oh, Dr. Thompson, you've helped me so much. Oh, Dr. Thompson, your YouTube videos really helped me to pass. Most of them I don't even know. And this type of thing, they kind of give me joy and appreciate that, seeing them smile and all. So that's the goal now, to try as much as possible to help a lot of people to pass this exam once. But please don't chat me privately on my Telegram or because I won't have time to. If you have any question, you can ask on the Facebook page or the YouTube channel or my Instagram channel. I have a lot of useful tutorials and materials that can help you. You can actually join my Facebook page. This is my Facebook page. Yeah, this is my Facebook page where you are supposed to upload your letter whenever I give you any assignment. And this is also my Facebook group where you can also upload your letters if I give you any assignment. Either you upload on the group or you upload on the page. Anyone you upload is actually fine. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Rosemary, she actually stated that at the end of the letter anyway. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, Rosemary, you are right. That letter is perfect to me. it's perfect to me. It's a nice one. All right, guys. Thank you very much, guys. Do have a great night. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye. Thank you, Tobechuku, for the prayers. Thank you, Rosemary. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ijoma, for the prayers. All right, it's time now.